Anyone who has taken part in Judge Judy, either as a party to her claim or as a part of the audience, what was it like? Any interesting, funny stories about what happens in between the cameras rolling? I was never on her show, but she presided over my first hearing as a law student in New York in 1977. I was working as a student law guardian defending alleged juvenile delinquents in the Manhattan Family Court. My very first case was a young fellow who jumped over a turnstile in a subway station with a loaded .38. The court was going to throw the book at him. Pending the probation department's report, which was probably going to be bad, I offered to take him home rather than having him spend more time in the grim juvenile facility known as Spafford. There was a bit of an uproar. Papers flew and tempers flared. But the judge decided that this was a pretty neat idea. He slept on the floor of my wife's and my tiny 17x11 feet student apartment on Washington Square for 10 nights. We got him a social security card, a green card and a job. 30 days later, the judge expunged his record. Decades later I walked into the kitchen of our home in California and a small TV was on and I heard a voice I had never forgotten. I looked at the screen and there she was, Judge Judy. Whoa, that's a great story. That's so nice that she cleared his record and gave him a chance. Do you know how he got on in life or did you lose contact with him? He got married, had a little kid whom I met a couple of times. Frickin' A, bud. The amount of good you did for that one person is like a whole career's worth of good. You rock. Really, if you've been living and decent to people you've done the same. People tend to downplay the very profound impact of normalcy, decency, and kindness. Maybe 15 years ago my best friend bought a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards on eBay and, when they came in, the majority of the high value cards were missing. This was like a $400 500 order and, for a high school kid, the missing cards were a major issue. This dragged on 4 months when they finally got Judge Judy involved. Surprisingly, the show got back to my friend right away asking if he was serious about all of this, because if he wanted to move forward they were ready to make contact with the other party. I believe the deal was something like they both would be flew to California, sign over any rights to really sue over this, Judy would make her decision, and both sides would get like $300 for their time. My friend was over the moon about all of this. Turns out when the letter got to the other party in this case they immediately offered a full refund for the cards. I still wish this would have gone all the way if only to hear my friend Bob explaining Magic the Gathering to Judge Judy. Don't mix eBay and MTG kids. Not even once. There was an episode for Yu-Gi-Oh cards where the guy was trying to explain why the cards were worth so much money. In the end I don't think the judge really understood why the cards were worth so much. But he had receipts and recent listings for the same card and the same grade, so they ruled in his favor. Funny, she can understand about the Pokemon though, because her kids and grandkids. I can hear this case playing out in my head. Judge, what in the world is Magic the Gathering? Bird, do you know anything about this? Bird, I dunno. All the kids play it, Your Honor. Judge, is it anything like the Pokemon? Plaintiff, Your Honor. Judge, didn't go in the show, but met her at an event a few years ago. She's teeny tiny, and every bit as terrifying in person as on camera. That personality is not an act. She yelled at my husband to hurry up as I posed for a picture with her. She scared him so much, he dropped the phone and I have an awesome picture of blurry carpet to show for the interaction. Haha, that's hilarious. I wonder does she keep up that persona at meet and greets, because I seen an interview with her recently where she was talking about her hairstyle change. Pretty newsworthy emo, and she just seemed so sweet and lovely. I dunno, her family and grandkids were there. She just crabbed at everyone all night. It was pretty funny, to be honest. A guy from my high school knocked over some guy's motorcycle, and being a punk kid, tried to run away without paying damages. The motorcycle owner sued him and his dad for the insurance deductible. Well, before the show, he's boasting about how he won't take her it, and he'll tell her off. After the show, he wouldn't talk about it. When the show aired, she made him cry. How amazing. Got his comeuppance. Last year my girlfriend was on Judge Judy and I was a witness because she didn't want to go alone. About 4 years prior, her boyfriend at the time convinced her to give him $5,000 for a truck and she was smart enough to put her name on the title. Fast forward a couple years and they are broken up, and her ex someone weasels his way through Secretary of State, forges her signature, and gets her off the title. The funny part was that we were suing in our district court and Judge Judy producers contacted us, paid us for the 3-day trip, flight to LA, and the hotel on Sunset. Even gave us each $75 for food. My girlfriend spent a month preparing all of her papers and stressing about what she would say and how to respond to Judy. The day comes and we roll on set with a stack of papers and we see her ex come in, and he has a single torn strip of paper. This is when I knew it was over for them. Not even 2 minutes into my girlfriend explaining what happened, Judy hones in on her ex, calls the guy's mother up to the stand with them, and proceeds to roast the out of them, calling the grifters and half-wits. She let the dude say about 10 words before she promptly cut him off and said judgment for the plaintiff in the order of $5,000. Kinda sad that the show pays the $5,000 and that little it got off for free, but the public humiliation was definitely a perk. Filming was quick, about 10-15 minutes of shooting and about 2 hours of waiting in a back room beforehand. It seems like they really look after people who go on their show, all expenses paid in full. I love that she always gives bums a talking to. I think maybe she's trying to give them a wake-up call to get their act together. It was unscripted, a lot of fun even though I had to see the guy who assaulted me. There's a good couple months of build up to the whole thing where they tell you the accused is calling you a liar and all this stuff. They gave my dad like $20 for being on with me, but gave me like $4,000. Someone said that everything is decided beforehand, but that wasn't my experience. She is the arbitrator of the case. They make it very clear in the contract, which I still have. I really wish I could find my episode. In my experience, Reddit can find everything. Just give the year that you were on and whatever details you can remember and someone will probably find it. Smiley face. This is why it seems like this might be fake. You're seriously telling me they were on the show, but have never found their episode? I met her in real life in 2013 or 14. I'm a journalist. I was scheduled to interview her at 9 AM in the lobby of a very plush hotel where she was staying with her husband. I don't know if she still is, but at the time she was the highest paid television star in the world, making a lot more than David Letterman was getting on Late Night or Charlie Sheen was getting on Anger Management at that time. High profile interview. Unfortunately, I went out drinking the night before. I woke up, it was 8:55 AM. I was at least 30 minutes away by cab. I raced out of bed so fast, I didn't even stop to brush my teeth. I took the toothbrush, toothpaste and mouthwash with me when I went to flag down a cab. In the passenger seat of the cab, I took a huge swig of mouthwash, realized belatedly that there was nowhere I could safely spit it out, so I spit it back into the bottle it had just come out of. Good times. The butch female taxi driver asked me why I was in such a panic. I said, I'm supposed to meet Judge Judy, the scariest woman on television, and as things stand I'm going to be at least 20 minutes late. The taxi driver listened in silence and said, yeah, you're fricked. You think you'll get fired? Thanks for the morale boost, butch taxi lady. On the way, I sent about 1 million text messages to Judge Judy's publicist telling her I was dropping my daughter to the crash. I was involved in a collision. My car had to stay at the scene of the accident, so I'm en route in a cab. Bullet excuse I figures Judge Judy will see through in a split second. Not least, because all of these text messages were sent after I was already late for the appointment. Get to the hotel. It turns out, miracle of miracles, that the PR person for the local TV station has also not shown up. So while Judge Judy and her team are obviously a little put out, I still end up looking like the more competent of the two local media representatives, despite being 20 minutes late. I had a long chat with Judge Judy. She was on holiday and completely unlike the person you see on TV. Totally chilled out and good humored. She introduced me to her husband, who was an ex-judge himself, and, again, The nicest person you could ever meet. She was telling me how they each had children from previous relationships and good relationships with their exes, so they had a proper blended family, which was the first time I'd ever heard that phrase and it made total sense. I tried to ask her about one or two specific cases I'd seen in episodes, but she was just like, listen, we record entire seasons back to back in 2 weeks. I don't remember any of the specific cases. It's all a blur. Fair enough. We chatted for about an hour and they wished me well and I left. 2 minutes after I'd gone, I got a call from my newspaper. They wanted me to go back and pose for a picture with Judge Judy to go with the article. She was in another interview at this point, so I had to wait in the lobby for about an hour replying to emails on my phone. When I got back up to her hotel suite, her husband answered the door. He greeted me warmly by name and asked me if I'd heard back from the cops about the car at my daughter's creche. The cops? My car? My daughter? I didn't own a car, or have a daughter. What the hell was he talking about? Thankfully, I belatedly remembered the bullet story I'd given them 2 hours earlier and said I was going to collect the car right after I left here. They seemed to believe me. Or maybe they were just being polite. I don't watch her show, but they were both very nice people to me when they didn't have to be. The taxi driver was the perfect supporting character in this story. Too funny.